you talk about some of the healing plants or the healing powers of plants and things that you learned. I mean, you were fortunate to be able to go and experience and live in that environment and really
Yeah.
see how this works.
Yeah. Let me tell you how this works, Mike. Because today we're living in what I call the age of PHARMA-geddon, because if you're for a pharmaceutical company to do research on a product, it has to be a product that they can patent. For example, nobody's doing research on vitamin D3, despite the fact that it can prevent so many viral conditions. Prevention never very rewarded, but pharmaceuticals can patent medications that work on pathways, on single pathways. Well, plants don't work on pathways. They have pathways, they have systems, networks that have many, many pathways, and then systems that have many, many networks. So you cannot patent garlic or oregano, but we know the extract from garlic, that a garlic is incredibly detoxifying, has a big sulfur molecule. That's why it stinks so much, that can bind to toxins or to heavy metals and pull them out of the body. So I think part of our work today is turning our kitchens into our laboratory so that we can find our way to health through what we put at the end of our fork. And
Right.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting. I was watching a TV program this last Sunday, 60 Minutes, which is one of my favorite shows. And they were talking about, you bring up this term patent, and they were interviewing Dr. Salk, from the Salk Institute, and I'm in San Diego, so of course that's right up the road from me. And they have footage of their interview with him, and they say to him, "Who owns the patent of this vaccine?" And it's a really beautiful thing. He says, "No one. It's for all of us." And
he gave it away, he
right.
gave it away for free. Yeah.
And it's incredible. And you think, and I understand, we live in a different world, and I understand we all need to generate, our financial stability and business. I get it. But what a beautiful thing to see this
No,
and to see him
yeah.
say, yeah, what do you mean who owns it? Like if you were to say that now, you'd have like a fight in court over who owns this and who owns that. But
Yeah.
it was amazing. And I thought to myself, and it made me think about that when you said that, this whole idea
Well,
of big pharma and patents.
I'll tell you how I got started actually in my work, since you asked earlier and you brought Jonas Salk up. Um, I got to work with Dr. Salk towards the end of his life.
Wow.
He contributed a chapter to a book that I was editing, and his chapter, and he was an older man by then. It was right shortly before his death. And when you get older, you befriend some of the younger generations. And I was a young graduate student, and I was working on my first book, and he contributed a chapter called "The Survival of the Wisest," and how it's wisdom that really propels evolution. It's not, the evolution, it likes muscle and teeth, but it prefers brains over brawn. So it prefers intelligence. And this is an evolutionary experiment that we're taking part in, where we are one of the most intelligent species in the planet. And just a few years ago, it was discovered that there were 3 species out of 40 million that didn't have a death program in their DNA. And that's humans, orcas and whales, and dolphins. And these are the species that have the biggest brain to body weight ratios. We don't have a death program. Every other species in nature, the minute the female is no longer reproductively viable, she's eliminated. There are no grandmothers in nature. There's no menopause,
Wow.
but there are female orcas. There are grandmother orcas and grandmother humans. So we can take part in an experiment in longevity, but it has to be an experiment in intelligence. These are the 3 most intelligent species. And of course, intelligence is part of what the ancients call spirituality.
Right.
It's your communion with the ecosystem, as your intelligence of your body, how you get along with your colony in your gut, and how do you atone with your ancestors, and don't blame your mother and your father for everything that's wrong with you.
It's easy to do that.